Hi, everyone, and welcome back to Burn the RuleBook podcast. This is the podcast where we break down everything you were never taught about menopause, mental health, and relationships one truth at a time. I'm Rachel Boyle, a licensed couples therapist, sex therapist, and certified menopause specialist. This podcast helps you understand what is actually happening to your body, mind, and relationships, and gives you real tools to move through life with clarity, calm, and connection. Let's get started. Hi, friends, and welcome back to Burn the RuleBook podcast, where we talk about menopause, mental health, and relationships. I'm your host, Rachel Boyle, a licensed therapist and women's sexual health specialist. So today we're going to talk about why testosterone helps libido in midlife, and it may not be enough. So if you're feeling disconnected from your sex life in midlife and wondering where your desire went, and maybe hoping there's a magic pill to bring it back, you are in the right place. Today, we're going to talk about something I get asked all the time about, and that's testosterone. And you've probably heard the buzz. If you just take testosterone, your libido will come roaring back. And while testosterone can absolutely be helpful in many cases, it's not the whole story. So in this episode, you'll learn why testosterone might help you think more about sex, but not necessarily want sex, and what the 4 cornerstones are that actually help support a healthy, vibrant sex life in perimenopause and beyond. Today, we're going to focus on your libido and why testosterone can give it a short-term boost, but what you're really wanting is long-term revival. By the end, you'll have a clear roadmap for looking at your sex life from every angle and not just what your lab results say. Okay, so let's start with what testosterone can do. Testosterone is often called the desire hormone, and for good reason. It can actually help you increase your sexual thoughts, fantasies, and your brain's openness to sexual cues. It can also make orgasms more intense and boost your overall energy. Testosterone also has a whole lot of benefits for your brain and also for the rest of your body. But today we're going to specifically be talking about how testosterone impacts your sex drive. So in midlife, especially during perimenopause and menopause, testosterone has already naturally declined. For most women, the testosterone starts to decline in their early 30s to mid 30s. And so what happens for a lot of women is that means you're not thinking about sex. You don't have that spontaneous desire like you might have had in your 20s or your 30s. So if you've Googled, does testosterone help with female libido? The answer you often get back is yes, it can. But here's the important part. It works best when it's part of a bigger plan and not the only solution. So why isn't testosterone alone enough? Here's the thing. Desire is very complex. It's not just about one hormone. It's a combination of what's happening with all your hormones, which is your estrogen, your progesterone, and your testosterone. So if your estrogen is running low, remember you might have some vaginal dryness, thinning of the tissues, and less blood flow to the genital areas, including the clitoris. And that can make arousal and sex uncomfortable and even painful. And when something is painful, your brain is not going to want it. In fact, your brain is going to push away for it. Now, that's the medical piece. If you're carrying a lot of stress, if you've got resentment in your relationship, or you're feeling emotionally disconnected from your partner, your nervous system can shut down completely and push away. And that's because your body prioritizes feeling safe over pleasure for most people. So think about this. Testosterone is like premium gas. It can make your engine run beautifully. But if there's other issues going on, like your tires are flat or your brakes are locked up, you're still not going to go anywhere. So what I like to talk about is the 4 pillars of what can lead to having great sex in life. The first pillar is your medical and hormonal health. Testosterone is a big part of this, right? You also want to get your estrogen, your progesterone, and your thyroid all in balance, right? Because all of those hormones are really going to help your body feel good and also help you want to desire more sex. Now, if your testosterone is low, you usually takes about 3 to 6 months for you to see improvements from testosterone. Now, if your issues are only from low testosterone, then great. That's fantastic. Your problem is fixed. But for most people, it's It can be more than that. So first pillar is the medical and hormonal piece. The second pillar is, do I like my partner? So we can love our partner, but maybe that we don't like them. So if this is going on, you're not going to want to have sex with someone you don't like. You don't want to have sex typically with someone that you have resentment towards, or you feel disconnected from, or that maybe you don't feel safe with. So emotional safety is about feeling seen, heard, valued, and desired. All of these things make up feeling safe in the human body. So this might look like repairing resentments, rebalancing emotional and mental labor that's happening in the house, and building in a sense of play and curiosity into your relationship. Now, the thing is that if your body feels very stressed, and if you're not feeling like you like your partner very much, your body is not going to seek pleasure, because your body will go into what's called a survival mode. So chronic stress or chronic resentment or not feeling seen and heard in a relationship can lead to your body thinking that it's not emotionally safe. And your body doesn't know the difference between emotional safety and physical safety. So it's going to go into fight, flight, freeze, or fawn. Fawn is fix it mode. Fix it is for a lot of people who are codependent, do a lot of fix it behaviors. So if you're noticing that you might be in fight, flight, freeze, or fawn, then your body is not really going to be receptive to wanting to have sex, because it's like your body on a certain level is braced for danger. Now, that doesn't mean that you're actually in danger. It just means that your body thinks you might be in emotional danger. And this can be based on what's happening currently in your relationship, but also what informs a lot of our survival responses is what happened in our childhood, or any painful events that have happened in our life. That's something that you want to look at. And if you find that that's going on in your life, then you might want to find a licensed therapist that can help you work through some of that stuff. The next pillar is, do I like the sex I'm having? Okay, so maybe your medical's great, your hormones are great. Do I like the kind of sex I'm having? Many women in midlife have never been taught how to explore their own pleasure without shame. So this pillar is about discovering what feels good for you without rushing to the goal of orgasm. So a lot of times I'll ask women, well, if you could have sex the way that you want to have it, what would that look like for you? For many women, they are not able to answer this question. And there's so many reasons for this. A lot of it is family of origin beliefs, community beliefs, and cultural beliefs. And culturally, our culture teaches women to be the object of desire, which means they are the one being desired, rather than seeing themselves as going towards creating what would be desirous for them. So if that is what's going on for you, there are a lot of great books out there that can help you go towards pleasure and what feels good, rather than just rushing towards the orgasm. So there's some great tools, like the website, it's called OMG Yes. There's a great book called Come As You Are, another really good book called Becoming Clitorate, and of course from Dr. Kelly Casperson, the You Are Not Broken book. And they can make a huge difference in you learning how to prioritize pleasure for yourself in the context of a relationship. So finally, the last pillar is, what are the messages that I've received about relationships and sex throughout my life? And what are the first messages that you could remember about sex while growing up? Because the messages that we receive inform and impact the way that we feel about sex. And so this is really important in life, because a lot of times those messages get internalized and we don't even know why we don't like something, and we don't know why our body is pulling away. So here are some questions that you can ask yourself to help uncover some of those belief systems. So the first one is, what were the first messages you remember hearing about sex while you were growing up? Now, these messages could be something that you actually heard people saying in your family of origin, or they could be messages that you didn't hear. So like some families may not talk about sex at all, or if they do talk about it, it's sort of like a taboo subject. The next question is, how did those messages that you received shape the way you thought about your body and your own sexuality? And this is really important, and especially for women, because there's so many messages that we receive around what our bodies look like. And some of those messages can be shame-based. Sometimes whenever girls start to develop into puberty, they get a lot of messages about hiding their bodies. There can be a lot of sexual messaging with that doesn't serve you once you get into a healthy relationship. The next question is, what messages about sex did you receive from partners, peers, or media as you get older? So first is the family of origin messaging that I talked about, right? The next is messages that you get from your community. So that's partners, peers, and media. And finally, which of those messages still influence you today and which no longer fit or feel true? Because once you're aware of what the messages are that you've been receiving and which ones that you've internalized, then you can pick and choose which ones that you want to keep and then which ones that you don't want to have in your life anymore. So finally, if you've realized that your libido is low and you're wondering where to start, first, I want you to find a trained and menopause medical specialist and explore HRT, right? You want to talk to someone who's really been trained so you can get the right information so that you can make an educated decision about yourself. Next, I want you to have some honest conversations with your partner about connection, reconnection, and what you want your relationship to look like. And I also want you to support really healthy habits for yourself. I want you to support getting really good sleep. I want you to explore doing some breathing exercises, right? Whenever you start to feel stressed. And also, whenever you're thinking about how do I respond in difficult conversations, I want you to be able to pause, take a moment for yourself, go for a walk. You want to do things that are going to support your nervous system to feel calm and connected again. And finally, if those things aren't working, I want you to find a trained therapist, someone who's been trained in women's sexual health, also knows about perimenopause and menopause, and also can help you with couples or sex therapy. So finally, while testosterone can light the spark, it's not the whole fire. You also have to know about relationship safety, your nervous system regulation, and your connection to pleasure. If this episode resonated with you, share it with a friend who might be struggling and with her libido in midlife. And remember, this is therapy informed, but it's not therapy. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you next time. Thanks for spending time with me today. I hope you found something helpful, validating, or just a little more human in our conversation. Remember, while I'm a licensed therapist, I'm not your therapist, and I'm not a medical doctor. This podcast is for informational and educational purposes only and does not constitute medical or mental health advice. For personalized care, please consult with a licensed healthcare provider or mental health professional trained in the area you're seeking support. You deserve expert guidance that's tailored just for you.